I woke up with rust in my mouth, flakes of it, bitter. I opened my eyes. The air was thick, smelled of oil and hot metal. There were hooks pointed at me. I counted 5, hanging from heavy chains. They were held by people, or they used to be. Pale skin, stretched tight over bone. Their eyes were gone, just dark goggles, welded shut to their faces. A dry, rasping voice told me to get up. It called me part. I stood up. I wasn't on a beach. This was a factory. No, this was a mechanical hell. There was no sky, only endless steel beams and pipes dripping oil. The grinding sound was constant. The floor vibrated. They made me walk. The heat was unbearable. We crossed catwalks over rivers of black sludge. They took me to the center of the largest chamber. The columns were made of pistons, firing in sequence. There was no throne, just a chair, and something was fused into it. It was a worker, but ancient. His body was thin, connected by 1,000 wires to the machine. His goggles were cracked, showing nothing inside. His voice wasn't from his mouth. It came from speakers all around me, cold, mechanical. He called me another piece of scrap, said I smelled organic. Of the outside. He asked if I knew where I was. I said nothing. He told me this was the engine, that the engine must always run. This was where the broken came to be useful. He pointed a thin metal finger toward a giant furnace. Some pieces, he said, are melted down. Others are given purpose. I asked him what they wanted. The voice called me an error, but they had processes. Tomorrow the cycles would begin. 7 days, 7 cycles. I had to prove I was a useful part. If I survived, I would join the work. If not, I would become fuel. They locked me in a cage. It hung by a single chain over the pistons. The whole thing swayed with the rhythm of the engine, a constant, sickening motion. There was another man inside, thin, pale, missing 3 fingers on his left hand. He told me his name was Sam. He'd been here 60 cycles, maybe 61. Time gets greasy. Down here. I asked him how he got here. He flinched. "You don't get here," he hissed, his voice cracking. "The engine, it calls, it finds broken people, people who fall through the cracks, people who won't be missed." My stomach tightened. He was describing me.
I asked if there was any way to escape. He just laughed. A dry, awful sound, like small rocks shaking in a can. "Escape," he said, gesturing wildly around us. "Look! It's all engine, top to bottom. We're inside it." He scrambled to the bars and pointed down into the oily darkness. I heard a guy, maybe 30 cycles back, said he fell for a whole minute before the grinders got him. There is no outside anymore. We're just scrap, waiting to be used. I asked him about the cycles. "Jobs," he whispered, sitting back down, pulling his knees to his chest. "Bad jobs. Shoveling hot slag, cleaning pipes from the inside. But it's not the jobs that break you." He looked at the workers passing by on a distant catwalk, moving in perfect, jerky time. "It's them," he whispered. "The workers. They don't talk. They don't sleep. I don't think they're human anymore." "What do you mean?" I asked. "The goggles," he said, tapping his own eyes. "They're fused on. The harness. It's bolted to their spine. They don't eat. They just plug into the wall. I saw one. It fell from a beam. The harness snapped. It didn't even scream. It just stopped. Like a machine." I felt cold. "Sam, what happens on the 7th cycle?" He wouldn't look at me. He looked at his missing fingers. "That's when they fit you." "Fit me?" "The harness," he choked out. "The goggles. They make you one of them. They burn out whatever's left of you. That's why no one survives it. They just stop being them." I looked at the marks on the wall. Names, dates, a crude map of a ventilation shaft.
Don't.
Sam saw me looking. "Don't," he pleaded. "It doesn't lead out." I watched a woman try it. The workers, they didn't even chase her. They just sealed the door from the other side, turned up the steam. He was shaking. "It leads to the main grinder. A quicker way to become fuel. It's a mercy." That night, I didn't sleep. The sound of the engine never stopped, a giant metal heartbeat that vibrated in my bones. At dawn, I heard the cage door scrape open. First cycle. First cycle. The slag pit. The moment the cage door opened, the wall of heat hit me. It was like walking into an oven. They gave me a shovel. It wasn't just heavy. The handle was rough, unsanded wood that tore at my palms. "Move it," the voice from the speaker ordered, "before the next drop." I looked at the pile. It was a mountain of glowing red-black slag steaming with chemicals. I shoveled. The heat blistered my skin through my clothes. The air was so thick with ash, I could barely breathe. My lungs burned. The slag was like wet cement made of fire. Every scoop felt like lifting liquid stone. I worked until my muscles tore. My hands were raw pulp. When the whistle blew hours later, I collapsed. I had survived. But as I lay on the cage floor, I could feel the heat. It had seeped into me. Second day, second cycle. The pipes. They dropped me into a grease conduit. A heavy metal lid slammed shut above me. Pitch black. The air was cold, stale. I couldn't stand. I had to crawl. "Find the clog," the voice ordered, echoing in the metal tube.
I see you.
The sludge was knee-deep, thick, cold, and rancid. It clung to me, trying to pull me down. Then I felt them. Something moved beneath the surface. Small metal things that clicked and scraped against the pipe. They weren't rats. They were cleaners. Mechanical, crab-like things the size of my hand, and they were swarming. One crawled onto my boot, its sharp metal legs trying to find purchase. I kicked it off, screaming. I found the clog, a mass of hardened grease, broken machine parts, and was that a boot? I dug at it with my bleeding raw hands from the day before. The metal cleaners clicked around my feet, waiting. I crawled out hours later, covered in filth, shaking. Third day, third cycle. The scaffolds. This was different. They didn't shout. They just strapped me into a heavy leather harness, the same kind the workers wore. They pushed me off the main platform. I fell. Then the line caught. I was hanging, 1,000 feet above the central grinder. The roar was deafening. The wind from the engine's giant intake fans tried to rip me from my harness. "Replace rivets," the speaker crackled far away. They gave me a heavy pneumatic hammer. I had to hold on with one hand, aim with the other, and fire the tool, sending bone-jarring vibrations through my entire body. I watched a single rivet fall from my numb fingers. I watched it spin, smaller and smaller, until it vanished into the grinding darkness below. One slip, and I would follow. But I didn't slip. I just held on. My fear was gone. It was too big to feel. It was replaced by something else. Focus. I stopped thinking about Sam. I stopped thinking about outside. I only thought about the next rivet. Find the hole, brace, fire, repeat. My body was a tool. My mind was a machine. Fourth day, fourth cycle. Fifth day, fifth cycle. I stopped counting the burns. I stopped feeling the pain as pain. It was just feedback. I just worked. The engine demanded it, and I I was beginning to listen. Sixth day, sixth cycle. I finished my task, replacing a gear in a crushing machine. My hands, now thick with calluses, moved without my thought. I didn't drop a single bolt. When I got back to the cage, it felt wrong. The balance was off. Sam was gone. I stood there for a long time. The cage swayed, empty. He hadn't been at the slag pit. I would have smelled the smoke. He wasn't in the pipes. The cleaners would have left pieces. I looked at the wall, at the crude map of the ventilation shaft, the one he warned me about, the Mercy. On the fifth cycle, while I was working, while I was focusing, he must have tried it. He chose hope, and hope was a flaw in the design. The workers found him. Of course they did. The engine sees everything. They didn't bring him back. They just rerouted the grinders. I looked down through the floor grate at the river of black sludge flowing below. The sludge flowing below us that night, it felt thicker, more viscous. I wondered if I was standing on what was left of him. I felt nothing. No sadness, no anger, just a confirmation, an equation solved. Sam was wrong. Escape wasn't impossible. It was irrelevant. The only thing that mattered was the engine. You either served it or you fed it. I was alone, the last piece of scrap. I wasn't scared anymore. I didn't feel pain. I didn't feel anything. I was just empty, a component waiting for instruction. I was just ready, ready to be filled, ready to be fit. I sat down, not in fear, but in acceptance. I listened to the metal heartbeat. It wasn't noise anymore, it was a language. And for the first time, I was beginning to understand it. Seventh day, seventh cycle. They came for me. The cage door scraped open. I stood up before they ordered me to. This time, they weren't carrying hooks to make me work. They were carrying tools, and I knew this was the purpose. They took me back to the central chamber. I didn't resist. I didn't fight. My steps matched theirs, a perfect metallic rhythm. I was brought to the ancient worker fused to the metal chair, the foreman. I was brought to my knees on the oily platform. I stared at the patterns of grime on the floor. I thought I was going to be fuel, melted down. It was an efficient end. But the mechanical voice from the speakers, it sounded different, not pleased. That's a human word. It sounded correct, optimal. The scrap has been tested, it said. The component has been stressed. The component is strong. He told me the seventh cycle was not a test of labor. It was a test of endurance. A test to see if the vessel was strong enough to hold the purpose, the processing load. You are no longer scrap, the voice declared. You are essential. The workers brought the new harness. It was heavy, dark leather, reinforced with steel ribs. The tools, they were surgical. They forced me into the empty chair next to the old foreman. It was cold. A perfect waiting shape that my body fit into, as if it were a mold. The harness was bolted to the chair first, then to me. I felt the heavy thunk of bolts ratcheting deep into the metal, pinning me. Then, the probes. The pain was absolute, but I expected it. I accepted it. I felt sharp, cold metal probes pierce my spine. One at the base of my skull, sending a blinding white flash behind my eyes. 2 more in my lower back, grounding me. They weren't just needles, they were connectors. I felt them lock deep into my bones. Then came the oil. 1,000 needles of hot electric fluid injected into my veins, my neck, my temples. It burned. It burned away everything. My memories of outside, the smell of rain, the color of the sky, the face of someone. I couldn't remember her name. It was all just useless, corrupted data, being formatted. My human parts screamed, but the rust inside me, the rust I'd been breathing, eating, living, it welcomed it. The oil felt like coming home. It didn't just hurt, it felt right. I looked at the old foreman. His cracked goggles turned toward me, a slow scraping sound of rusted joints. "The engine must run," the voice said, softer now, a signal degrading. "And the foreman must watch. My cycle is over. The process is complete." The old foreman's body went limp. A final shuddering sigh of steam escaped him. The wires connecting him sparked, then went dark. He was just an empty shell, a discarded part. A worker stepped in front of me, holding the new goggles. Gleaming, black, uncracked. He pressed them to my face. The fit was perfect. I took one last look at the physical world. The dark metal, the distant sparks, the empty shell of the man beside me. Then came the hiss, the smell of burning skin, the metal sealed against my face. Darkness. Total, absolute, terrifying darkness. For 1 second, the human part of me, Alex, panicked. It was a final, weak electrical signal. Then, I could see. Not with my eyes. My eyes were gone. They were irrelevant. I saw everything. I saw the whole engine, every gear, every piston, every pipe. I saw pressure levels in Sector 7, fluctuating in real time. I saw the heat signature of the slag pit, a beautiful, blazing orange. I saw the biosigns of the workers, their heart rates, their caloric intake, their efficiency ratings. I saw the new woman in the cage, 2 levels up. Her fear was a chemical spike, a variable to be managed. I felt the flow of oil like blood in my veins. The prophecy of this place. A part is broken, a better part is made. A new component installed. I had become the new foreman. Three months passed, or maybe 3,153,600 rotations of the main gear. It doesn't matter. Time is just another measurement of wear. My skin is pale. My muscles have atrophied. I don't need them. The chair moves me. The engine feeds me. A direct infusion of pure hot oil. It lubricates my joints. It powers my thoughts. I don't remember what food tastes like. It was inefficient, a biological process prone to failure. I can see everything. The engine is my body now. The workers are my hands, my feet. When a pipe bursts in Sector 7, I feel it as a sudden, sharp drop in pressure. I reroute the flow, isolate the rupture, and dispatch a worker team, all before a single drop hits the floor. When a gear grinds in Sector 3, I hear it in my skull as a deviation in hertz. I adjust the lubrication ratio. The sound stops. The old foreman was weak. He was reactive. He only maintained. I am predictive. I want to improve. Today, the engine brought us new parts. The main elevator descended. 3 new components: a businessman,
a young woman, a teenage boy. I watched their biodata flood my senses. Heart rates 180, 195, 210. Cortisol levels critical. They were broken, stressed, depressed, anxious. The outside had worn them down, made them brittle. The engine, it finds them. It senses the cracks in the world above, the resonance of failure. It pulls them down. "Oh my God," the woman cried. "Where are we?" "What do you want?" the man shouted, his voice echoing in the chamber.
What are you waiting for? Move!
I remembered saying that. The memory of Alex is still here. It's a file, a log of my installation. I access it sometimes. It's useful. It helps me predict the behavior of new, unbroken parts. But it feels like a dream, a story about someone else, a weak, biological thing that was afraid of pain and heat, a component that has since been upgraded. I analyzed the new parts. The man, his biosigns, were erratic, high aggression, low durability, incompatible. He would break under the first cycle. Reroute component male 01 to furnace 3, I thought. My voice was no longer a voice. It was just a command, sent directly to the workers' harnesses. They moved instantly, hooks ready. He would become fuel, an efficient use of resources. The woman and the boy went to the cages. They will be tested. They might be useful. It is the law of the engine. The workers are efficient, but they are old designs. They are 1,000. Next year, they will be 2,000. The engine must grow. The old foreman just wanted to run the engine. He was content. He was afraid of the outside, that chaotic, unpredictable variable. But I remember the outside. I remember the weakness, the pointless anxiety, the biological chaos. I remember people rusting from the inside, wasting away. They don't know they need purpose. They don't know they need work. They are inefficient.
I pulled up the blueprints, not the old ones, my new ones.
A schematic for a new series of access tunnels. Not just one, a dozen. Targeting the foundations of the major cities above. We will breach the surface. We will bring the factories to them. We will cure them of their freedom. We will give them all purpose. We will fix them. We will bolt the harness to their spines. We will weld the goggles to their faces. We will give them the gift of true sight, the gift of knowing their function. I am no longer Alex. Alex was the scrap. I am what was made from it. I am the foreman. And the work has just begun.